and welcome to another Kritzkast interviewing people from the invasion thing. I'm saying this as if this is some kind of concurrent theme of introduction we have. We don't. But we are here, we being myself, Rusky-Doo, and Sir Grey, with Crash.
Hey!
So Crash is probably known best for Koth Trainosaur Laser and Koth Wub Wub Wub.
The good maps.
The good maps. The maps that people actually go and play on.
Right.
But you've also done, let's see, it was CP Vanguard?
No,
That's
not me.
Let's list maps that you haven't made.
Yeah.
Process. Did you make that?
Did not make that.
No, okay. 2-4?
Did not actually.
Okay.
When they released like Gold Rush.
Yes.
And there was a lot of hype around Gold Rush right then. So it was probably when Gold Rush was released. I did that one. I played very early on with the Penny Arcade community, and I'm like still playing with them today, and I still put them through all my bullshit map tests. They've played like every single version of every map I've ever released. So they need a lot of commendation.
Nice.
Shout out to those guys. So for this you did, well, I say for this, originally you, it was part of the 72-hour mapping contest that you did Koth Probed, isn't it?
Yeah, it was summer 2014, so about a year ago now, and it didn't do that well at all. I didn't even place in that one.
You didn't place for 72 hours. In my brain, you totally won it.
Nope, that was actually what happened was there was the 72-hour contest, and I had a very busy thing. I had a housewarming party going on because I just bought my house, like just before that. And I had a housewarming party where I had about 100 people in my house during the weekend of the 72-hour contest. And I was like, I really want to do this contest. So I had Sunday available, and then I had to work Monday when the actual contest ended.
Well, are we talking like a hungover Sunday, I'm guessing here?
A little bit.
Okay.
But that Sunday, I had about 10 hours free, which still pushed me into like 2, 3 in the morning, and I had to work at 7 a.m. on Monday. But I had about 10 hours free where I just went nuts and made the basis of what became Probed. It was still called Probed. It had the alien abduction gimmick. It has the general layout was there, but it had some pretty big issues because I rushed the hell out of it. It was actually like the very last second of making the map, and like down to the last hour, I was like, I'm gonna make it night themed, and I just had to like overhaul the entire lighting. Because I'm smart like that. But I think it turned out well. But then what happened was I updated it for the Mercs vs. Aliens contest, which was sponsored by Bang & Ronin, the leads on Invasion, and it won first place on that.
Ah, that's why I totally have that memory. And also I find the fact that you did it like really last moment really funny because it's a totally solid map. Like, it's really fun to play on. And which actually kind of, I know that Badwater was done in like a really short amount of time for a payload map as well.
Yeah.
So there's something in that. But
wait, I got one. So like, when you're like making maps, where do you come from? Because, okay, so what I would say sets your maps apart from other maps is that you really go out there and like do original shit. Like, even if you know it's not gonna work, you're like, I'm gonna fucking do it anyway because it's interesting. Is that like a thing for you?
Yeah, I think usually when I come up with a map idea, it's the gimmick that stands out right away. Like when I made Wub Wub Wub, the original concept behind it is I want to make a map that's suddenly dubstep, and the map just loses its shit. Like that's what I want. I want the drop to hit, and I want the map to be like, to go along with the music and just go insane. And then I take that idea and I just pound it into Hammer, and Hammer pounds back at me until we kind of come to an accord at some point, and out spits a map.
So, yeah, I mean, like, how much of... okay, so that actually has a lot of mechanics in it that, like, I've not seen in other maps. Like, when I first played Wub Wub Wub, I was like, okay, so the nearest thing I'd had was that map where the big cat with the lasers comes out. So I knew like some crazy shit could happen, but like I'd never actually seen anyone do anything like what happens on Wub Wub Wub. Is it because I'm just naive in high approach maps and actually it's just a load of like really simple tricks that you just use in a particular way? Or is there like a load of extra stuff that people don't usually use in maps?
It's a lot of stuff that usually doesn't happen in TF2 maps, and like the cat, for example, that's like a trade map. That's like a an idle map that just has like a little side gimmick. And I've always like seen those kind of things, and like most mappers see take those things and go, those don't apply to legit maps, and I go, well, I'm gonna make a not legit map, and it's gonna go batshit crazy. Because I like pushing the limits of the engine, and I like to see what stupid things I can make it do. And it really isn't that complex of things, it's just very tedious. Like when I'm trying to do the music, lining it up with the music, that isn't like, there's no system for me to go, okay, when it hits this beat, apply this thing. It's like, okay, I'm sitting here with a stopwatch, and I'm going, okay, it's 0.2 seconds into the song, it has to start, and
so you're actually just trial and erroring this thing. You're like, now?
Yeah, basically, like, it was all lined up manually based on time signatures in the songs, down to usually 2 decimal places, sometimes 3.
That's pretty accurate.
That's not bad.
And that, I think that kind of attitude where I just lose my mind, that's probably what you're seeing that sets me apart from a lot of other mappers. I'm masochistic in my map design.
Okay, so have you ever, like... Okay, so that map came from a concept. Have you ever, like, I mean, you like messing around with the mechanics of doing it. Have you ever, like, taken a mechanic from, like, you noticed something in Hammer, you're like, oh, this is like a weird thing I can do here, and tried to make a map just based on that mechanic? It's okay to answer no.
I'm trying to think of anything. Not really, honestly, because it's usually just I'm fighting the engine to do what I want. There's never a point where I'm like, oh, here's a unique thing that came out and I'm going to utilize it. Like, it's usually, when something like that happens, everybody utilizes it and everybody's doing very similar things. Where it's me, I'm more like, okay, I want this idea, how can I wrangle the engine into allowing me to do it?
Yeah. Okay, have you ever had an idea for a map and you've been like, okay, I'm going to do this. You get down to the nitty-gritty and you're just like, this is not possible.
Yeah, pretty often. Like Trainsaw Laser, I am at the limit of what you can shove into a map, what a map can do. Just because, like, the entity limit, there's a hard entity limit of
it just cuts
2048 entities on a map, and I'm using like 1600, and then you have to have room on the map for all the players and all their projectiles and all their items and their unusual effects and everything like that.
What happens if you go over?
The server crashes.
Oh wow, so you really have to be like, okay, so wait, is it a big thing? Like, if Valve let another, you get unusuals on a different body slot, you're like, well shit, my map's out the window.
That's everybody who's always like, we want more cosmetic slots. I'm like, no, don't do it, please, God, don't do it. Because that is a hard limit. But that's the thing, is not many maps hit it, especially smaller maps. A cloth map should come nowhere near that limit. But I did, because I'm masochistic nature. But like, the closest one is Pipeline, actually. It's 3-stage payload race map.
Oh yeah?
Because it's such a large map and there's so much going on in the map, payload's already notoriously entity heavy. And that map specifically is just barely brushing that limit to the point where, like, on a times 10 server, 10 crash it and break it over that limit.
What's been the most difficult thing that you've taken on that's actually worked in terms of, like, I'm gonna make this a thing? Like, in a single mechanic.
Probably the alien spawn mechanism on Probed. I actually did a YouTube series. I called it Crash's Strange Mood, which is based off of the Dwarf Fortress thing where they get this idea in their head and they have to do it, and you have to give them the right materials or they like lose their minds. I sort of feel like that when I get a stupid idea for a map. So I did this series, and it was like a week long where I just was like, no, I'm gonna get this. I want these aliens to spawn in. Okay, how the system works is when you capture the point, the aliens can begin teleporting the map, but like a normal mapper would probably just say, okay, I'll just set an order and they spawn in every 4 seconds. And that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted it to be randomized. So they spawn in randomly all throughout the map, and then there's 4 different varieties of them. Some of them are shooting lasers, some of them are just visually there on the map, and some of them will actually explode like pumpkin bombs. And they all require the teleport-in particle, and they require all these combinations of entities to get them to work how they do. And I wanted them to be able, you could shoot them and they would explode. And there's a whole ton of different things that you have to do to get that to work. And I'm actually waiting on Valve. This is like very, very short term, the update is supposed to hit. and I still haven't got the entity from Valve that's going to replicate the pumpkin bomb, but can be targeted, and a bunch of very specific things that I need from them. So I'm hoping to get that here soon, and then I can actually update the map just before the update's supposed to hit.
So, what would actually need to be different? Because I've downloaded and played the map locally, and it works with the exploding aliens. What actually would need to be different? What do they need to do?
Right now, if you do it on the version RC2, you cannot kill yourself with them. Like a pumpkin bomb, if you shoot it, it will blow up and it will kill you. It also will not explode if you hit it with a physics projectile like an arrow, or I think needles don't do it either. But I know the Huntsman arrow specifically doesn't do it. Because right now it's a funk breakable, which is just a block in hammer that you say when it takes damage, break, and then you can have it set to do certain things. But that doesn't actually take into account arrows and certain other objects, and it's a really hacked-in system. Like, I had to set up a series of filters for every single one so it could detect if you were on the opposing team, or like, depending on which team you were on, it would activate the certain trigger around it. Like, it's the most stupidly complex system to get it working. And if I can get this entity from Valve, it'll be like, just delete half of that and set this entity in.
Would it be like, oh, Valve have fixed it? Well, those hours of work are just worthless, damn it.
Yeah, basically. But, oh god, it would be so much more efficient. And, like, right now, Probe is, I believe, nearing the entity limit. But with this, that change, it would probably drastically reduce that. Because it's like, I believe there's 32 aliens that spawn onto the map. And I could replace at least 16 of them. And each one of those aliens is probably a good 8 to 10 entities.
Wow. That scales pretty quickly.
It adds up really quick, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah. So hang on. Does that mean that you can't use them like pumpkins to kill your opponents at the moment?
You can, though. That's the only thing that is fully working about them is there's a radius around them, which if you are on the enemy team and you shoot it, it will damage the opposing team by quite a bit. They also actually, they can right now, they can telefrag you when they spawn in. I don't know if you found that yet, Sir Grey running around, but if you're standing right where they spawn, they telefrag you, which was sort of a bug fix and sort of just, I thought it would be really funny, which is probably my favorite way to do things. If they spawned in and you were standing there, you'd get stuck. So I was like, well, just kill you, and it's like a telefrag.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait, because, I mean, they can appear, like, anywhere on the map.
They have set placement.
Okay.
Everywhere that they spawn they're going to spawn again in the future. Like, if you play the map again, they're all going to end up in the end in the same exact place. But when they spawn, when each one spawns, it's randomized.
Gotcha.
It's basically like a picker that I have. It goes, okay, spawn the one that's on top of the roof here. Okay, 5 seconds later, like a time span between like 5 and 10 seconds later, spawn the one over here. And then once the ones that actually explode on the map, they can respawn themselves after a set amount of time as well, just like a pumpkin bomb.
Cool. Man.
Actually, you know what? I've just realised there's actually a load of pumpkins on the map. Is it meant to look Halloween themed, or was that just like, and pumpkin?
I wasn't, when I was working on that, I consciously made the decision not to put any of the jack-o'-lantern pumpkins on it. I just figured it was more of a nighttime farm theme that has the pumpkins. It's there's not enough farm things to say why is this a farm. It's usually like the grain stuff and all that. So I figured, I'm like, part of this is a pumpkin farm, and there's going to be pumpkins everywhere because of it.
We need produce. Pumpkins it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair, makes sense. You got to work with what you got, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, like, once you get this entity from Valve, you're going to implement it, and it's all tied up, right? Do you know what you're working on next?
Right now, the main thing that I'm waiting on working on is CP Overgrown, which is what I just created during the last 72-hour contest. It's kind of funny, actually, because the last 72-hour summer contest, I made Probed, and now this one's Overgrown, so that's going to be my next major project. But I have to wait for the voting to be over with on that before I can update it. If I update it in the meantime, it can kind of convolute which is the version that came out during the 72 hours.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to be my next big project. We're also going to be releasing, although it might be released by the time this comes out, actually I really hope it's going to be released, is CP Stony Ridge RC2, which I just actually got the guy who made the particles for all the explosions on Probe. It's Fission Metroid. he actually made us a new explosion for RC2, and that was the last piece that I was waiting on for RC2 of that. And I just got it like yesterday, and I need to implement it and update that map, and probably do a test run or two of it, and then release it into the wild.
Be free, run.
And then I also have to update Glassworks again too. That's my competitive 5CP map. That one, I'm pretty sure they were talking about running it in the next season. It's kind of like a custom map heavy season, and there's a bunch of changes I wanted to implement from the last season that they ran it.
I mean, so you specifically targeted that at comp?
Yep. That was my the gimmick, so to speak, of that one was I wanted to make a competitive and pub friendly map. It was like Highlander and pub gameplay. I wanted to focus on those two things and like make a good map for that, which I'd never really done before, so I wanted to give it a shot.
Okay, so I mean, what we've seen from a lot of maps that have like been tried out in UGC is like they always have a load of iterations because the comp players will play on them. Then they'll be like, it's really good, but I mean, this bit it throws things off. It's too powerful for this one class or whatever. So like, are you thinking you might get feedback, when it's run, and then change it and try and work with the comp players, as it were?
I've been testing it with competitive teams. I actually had the K&D, who have been like champions for a while. I don't think they won this last season though. But they're one of the top tier platinum teams, and they've been a really big help in testing out Glassworks and just getting it good level teams. Like there's times when you get a test and it's like, okay, none of that test is valid because I had one team that had no idea what they were doing on the map, and another team that was really good. So I was like, I got nothing out of that.
Yeah.
But so it was really nice to have these high tier teams that like both really knew the game really well, and they would just go back and forth and wreck each other on the map, and that was like just condensed awesome feedback. But then it was played in this last season, and all of that feedback sort of went out the window. I guess not quite all of it out the window, but like there were so many things that didn't come up in testing that came up during the season that I was like, okay, I definitely need to update this map again. I definitely need to give it an overhaul. So that's the next step for me.
I kind of want to ask like what, but I don't know if that'll actually provide an interesting answer.
It's a lot of boring shit.
Yeah, fair enough.
Was it like
Sightlines.
teams like finding exploits and stuff? Like
it was basically like, hey, I found a sightline that can be all the way back here, and then kill your medic in a second. Like it's stupid little things,
nitty gritty.
and it's stuff that didn't come out in testing that a wider audience ended up finding.
As is always the way.
I remember though, because like so I used to play like high level Highlander, and there was this joy whenever a new map came out. Like we'd have like a few people on the team who were like really into like properly picking apart maps, and we'd just like go on the map for like a 4-hour session and just try and find every little gap that we could snipe through, like just like every little thing we could abuse. Like we found crazy stuff like it's not Snowplow. What's the snowy map with the crates and the point in the middle? That's like all the maps, isn't it?
Cold Front.
No, not Cold Front. It's a cough.
King of the
Viaduct?
Hill. Viaduct?
No, not Viaduct. There's like 2 walkways that go up to crates. Like there's crates right next to the point, really high. Kind of like the center point on Granary, but in a cough, and not Granary.
Oh, anyway, did you say Snowy?
Yeah. And it had a snowy name.
Arctic?
Oh, it was Arctic, yeah.
Yes, Arctic. So you have the 2 things stacked on top of each other, the 2 like storage containers.
Yes.
Like we found out that if you were a sniper, you could go to a right point on the ramp and you could snipe between the 2 containers.
Oh god.
And we actually abused that in a match. We like had our sniper really far forwards on the ramp so you could shoot into the banana tunnel. Man, that was a boring story. Doug's totally going to cut that from the edit. Never mind. In my head, it was really relevant. Oh god. Save me, someone, quickly.
Train wreck.
Sorry. Interview over. Rusky killed it. Fuck. Okay, so like, okay, what was the experience of working on Invasion? Like, how much input did you have from the Invasion guys? Was there any, in fact, or like?
I've been pretty separate from the rest of the Invasion teams, to be completely honest. I have not really heard anything from the team itself on it, but I did actually get some Valve feedback once on the map, which was like the highlight of my mapping career at this point.
What did they say?
It was very little, but they did really like the abduction mechanic. They said that they really enjoyed how you spawn on either side of it, and you kind of have to cross each other as opposing teams. So it's like the basic idea from that was Ioduct, how you would shoot the Monoculus and you teleport in, and then you were all running for an exit.
Yeah.
I was like, the dumb part about that is how it's both teams next to each other, and it's like you either have to be nice and just allow the other team to get through, or you're a jerk. Is essentially how it ends up coming out. So I was like, how can I make that better for a PvP kind of setting? So I spawned them on either side, and you have to fight each other to cross to get to your exit.
Yeah.
And then just like Ioduct, when you come out of it, you get a little bit of a buff that lasts for a certain amount of time. And I was like, okay, now you have that buff. You can run over to the opposing team and fight them with that buff now.
Yeah. Oh man.
Some of the other things they said too, they liked watching the UFOs fly around. It helped it feel like alive, and it made like a really nice backdrop for the combat. And that's kind of one thing I was going for. Is I wanted to make the map feel like there was activity happening on it. Like the aliens are spawning in, they're attacking the hidden lasers that are on the map. They're trying to destroy these things before one of the team completes the objective. Gets their time down at the top. The mothership comes in, and the lasers pop out and attack the mothership, destroying it.
So it's almost like there's a third team in a way.
Yeah,
Like
that's exactly what I was going for, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you at any point consider giving points for destroying aliens, just so that you could rank up very cheaply and easily?
I don't even think that's possible for me as a mapper, but it is kind of a neat idea. I hadn't thought about that before. That's one of those things I'm like, okay, it's probably not possible, but how can I do it? God damn it, Sir Gray, I don't have time for this.
Exactly the same shit as Muddler. Someone today was like, so can you make like Machina Tracer come off other guns? And I was like, I have absolutely no idea. I don't even know where you'd start on that one. QC files maybe? Fuck knows. But yeah.
But I did get some feedback from Valve too, like regarding things they didn't like. It wasn't just all like positive things.
Oh, okay.
It was, they did say that the version that they tested, which was the version they got that was the winner of the Mercs versus Aliens contest. So that was back like
a year
the
ago.
contest ended in November, and I got the feedback in March from them, and the map just kind of sat stationary in that meantime. I did some updates to it, but definitely when I got their feedback, I kind of was like, Valve feedback, let's go, let's improve the things that they didn't like. And
if Valve have been looking at it, that's just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Exactly, yeah. As a mapper, we're so left in the dark in those kind of things that just hearing that they played it and I actually have words from them regarding it, it was like just you could probably hear me fanboying out a little bit already. But they did say that it was a bit too easy to flank and ambush players in buildings, which was frustrating to them. But I adjusted all those things. I actually did a complete overhaul. There's like a building to the side. It's a 45-degree angled map, I guess like 90-degree angled map. It's not a typical Koth map where you're coming in from opposing sides. You're coming in from angles, and then you meet in the middle. And there is a building on the inside of that, and there's a building that just opposes the point. This is horribly complicated to try to explain without pictures. But those buildings got major overhauls because of that feedback. I made it so it favored the attackers pushing onto the point more than the defenders pushing away from the point. And then like the building right behind the point, I kind of narrowed things out. I made it not as friendly to get up there because there was too many ways around the point where you couldn't see them doing it. And I changed things up so you have to focus on the point more. It's more of a funnel system, sort of like how Viaduct. The point is the only place to get past the point.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean there.
And like they also mentioned like sentries had a tough time getting built and held, which all those changes kind of took that into account as well. And there's a couple good sentry holds now. I don't ever play engineer, so it's kind of a difficult thing for me to gauge at times. It's like one of my only classes that I just don't like. But I forced myself to play it a bunch, and like half the tests that we did on Probed, I went engineer and just tried to abuse the hell out of it, and just tried to find all the cool spots and all the places to hold. And I think it should be pretty balanced now for every class.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems a theme in what Valve are doing with maps at the moment, that they're not doing regular maps. Like Valve are trying out like football-style maps. They're trying out maps where you have to kill robots and get through laser grids. So, I mean, almost, do you think you're kind of like a visionary, as it were? You've had this idea that maps need to be fucking out there. Let's just not make the same map, but with a different layout. Let's do something a bit wild. And Valve seems to be catching up with that. Is that something
I think so a little bit. I think they're experimenting in the same way that like I would say experiment, or a lot of other mappers would experiment. But at the same time, you need those fundamental things you do and don't do in TF2 maps. Like I always say, Trainsaw Laser was originally a serious map for like about a good month. Like it was like Alpha 2, it just went off the rails, but off the rails.
I mean, was it called Trainsaw Laser when it was a serious map?
I forget what I had my internal test version was. Like that map, I always say, there was one gimmick on it, and it was the laser that went back and forth, and then I tested it with my community, and they thought it was really funny that there was this laser next to the point. So I was like, well, now what if there was like trains going through the spawn courtyard and more lasers, and now there's stupid ass saws that cut you when you try to go up the ramps, and like, and that map just kind of exponentially went batshit. But at its core, it's a serious map, and there's a normal layout underneath it, and that's why I feel like Trainsaw Laser actually works, is because there are these rules that you generally follow for a TF2 map, and it's following them.
Yeah.
So like, you can't just kind of go anywhere. You do have to kind of find that medium so that people can actually play the map.
Yeah, exactly. And Valve is definitely adding some crazy things in, and it's cool to see them pushing the limits, like the grappling hooks. Like, I don't think they're really used that much. They're not really easy to implement yet. You have to like rely on server commands to even do it on a custom map. But it's still it's one more tool at our disposal to make interesting things.
Yes.
I was totally going to ask something completely beyond.
What is your favorite cartoon?
Okay, oh, now it's getting serious.
The gloves are off, man. This is real.
The answer that I'm sure everybody expects of me, based on my avatar, which is Toki Wartooth, is probably Metalocalypse, which is cool as hell. I love Metalocalypse, but I would say probably, Christ, now I'm forgetting, Venture Brothers. That's a really cool show.
Yes.
It's got a ton of continuity. I love continuity.
Yes, the characters in that are, yeah.
I've never seen it. What is it?
Oh, it's sort of like a throwback to every like old school. It's like Johnny Quest. I don't know if you've ever seen that, like the old school Johnny Quest stuff. It's like that. It's like a throwback to all these old cartoons and action cartoons, but it's like Adult Swim comedy and just shenanigans, basically.
Is this Adult Swim?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, just make sure I'm not going mad. That's a thing that like Brock is from, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because
Yep.
I was like thinking, why have I watched that cartoon? And it was man, let me just talk about me for a minute while we're doing this interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, obviously. No, it was when I was doing Poker Night in the Inventory too, and like because we were doing like the knife for Brock in that, and like they were just like, you need to get acquainted with this cartoon, mainline it. And like for this entire weekend, I just watched Venture Brothers cartoons like back to back. I think I got through the entire first series and some way in the second.
Yeah, and there was I mean, what the hell are they called?
The bee suit. What the fuck's it called?
Yeah, the Monarch stuff. I
Yes.
forget what they're. It's driving me nuts.
What, the item set?
No, what those characters are called.
Oh, they're just numbers. What numbers are they?
I can tell you the item set's called Flight of the Monarch. Not out of any personal knowledge, I just googled it.
Oh, no, there's these two henchmen who are like...
Henchmen, that's what it was. I
yeah,
couldn't
they
even
just
think of, though.
keep popping up and stuff. Yeah. No, like, I think Ronan had a good answer. He came up with Akira. It's a good cartoon. Seriously good cartoon.
I haven't seen that in so long.
I thought you said you're haven't seen it. I was going to be like, oh my god, great. That's it. We can't
I
be
have
friends
been
anymore.
watching Bob's Burgers a lot lately, too. I like
Bob's
a lot
Burgers?
of comedy, goofy stuff.
I totally haven't seen that either. What is that?
Get out.
Okay, goodbye.
Okay, goofy stuff. Is it Korgoth the Destroyer?
That is a really cool, yeah. That was,
Like,
that was
it's
just
just
a
one
pilot,
episode,
wasn't it?
yeah.
I
Man.
so wish. I'm a big fantasy nerd. Like, I'm big into Game of Thrones and
Right.
Breaking News. And that looked fucking amazing. I really wish that would have went.
If that
What
had carried on.
What is your current D&D character?
Yeah, I usually
Whoa! You can't start on that question. What edition are you playing? Like seriously, you can't just go straight in grey.
You can't go straight to the character. You gotta go get
know
edition
what edition
first.
it is.
Fair
okay,
enough.
so because of my YouTube channel, because of my mapping and all that, I haven't played D&D in probably a good year now. But when I was playing, we just switched over to Pathfinder. We did do we like basically have hovered around 3.5 for a long time, and I just discovered Pathfinder and how it's kind of like an updated version of it. So I've been playing a lot of Pathfinder, and we did try 4E. We did,
and then you stopped playing in horror, right?
A year of 4E, and then I was like, I'd prefer 3.5 over 4E. And we went back to 3.5. I don't like 4E.
Okay, interestingly, just to bring this back in, 4th Ed is very map-based. Do you know what I mean? Like the others,
that is the one thing that we took out of 4th edition. Before, when we played 3.5, it was like, okay, we have a piece of paper and we're all kind of sketching roughly where we are, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna move over to kill this guy. How far away is it? Yeah, you can make it, sure. Yeah. But with 4E, it forced us to play on a grid, which we took over to 3.5, and every other thing we've played since then. So I did like that aspect.
So you were like, man, I could map in my role-playing game. I'm in.
Yeah, I do have.
And you
some,
can add like lasers.
Yeah, that is probably one of the things that my players would say that is fun about my games, is that I do make these like visually interesting areas, even if it's just like describing it, and I put down lines on paper because I'm a chronic procrastinator, and it was like 10 minutes before they were showing up, and I'm like frantically writing, drawing out the map for them. But I always try to make things cinematic and like really interesting. So I think some of that comes out from my mapping, my TF2 mapping into that.
So wait, are you not currently a player but a DM?
It's hard to say because I basically have a group of DMs, so we all take turns, and we all like we're the place all the DMs go and nobody can find them.
Man, this sounds like the Holy Grail group of like gamers.
But
seriously,
we've had a long-term campaign. We've been playing it for probably 6 years now. Of every 6 months or so, we'll get together and do a run of it. So it's not that amazing or anything, but we've got these characters that we play, and we all take turns DMing. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this session where we run through this dungeon, and we'll do a couple times in a row where we're, one person's DMing. And then the next person say, okay, I've got a cool idea to take these characters. And it's our Chosen Ones campaign, we call it.
Well, yeah, if you got the right players, it's amazing. As long as you're not like, man, Jeff the Barbarian, he was like really nasty to my rogue, so when I'm GMing, I'm gonna fuck Jeff.
Yeah, we're actually all pretty good at like not metagaming, because like there's times when I can DM and play at the same time and like not ruin things. So I don't think that actually doesn't come out too often.
Yeah. Well, I guess, again, bring it back on board. It's like the whole idea of, like you're doing a map. You want everyone to have fun. It's not about winning.
Exactly.
Loads of people don't get this about, like, computer games, about tabletop games. Like, you trick yourself into thinking that the objective is to win, but the objective isn't to win. The objective is to have had a positive experience.
I fully agree with that, and like a lot of times, like I play a lot of sniper and spy. And a lot of times people will accuse me of like, oh, you made this good sniper sightline just for yourself. And I was like, why the hell would I do that? Like, that's the worst idea in the world, because everybody would just be pissed at it and everybody would hate the map.
And you'd go to that sniper sightline and be like 3 guys standing there already, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I try not to have any personal bias in my maps the same way I would have no personal bias if I was DMing a game. That's a very good, that's a good soundbite. Okay,
so... Another one. So, something that most mappers go nuts for is Easter eggs. Do you do that?
Yeah. I'm pretty crazy with it. Like, a lot of people will tell me that I need, like, as a joke, they'll say, oh, there's not enough trains and saws on Glassworks. And I would like, there are literally probably 20 to 30 trains on Glassworks. You just have to know where to look.
Around.
And I did do that with Probed. I just recently added in some more Easter eggs, but a common joke, I can spoil this one for the audience in here, and they can go find it and feel cool for knowing it. A common joke throughout Probe's development is they'll call it Probed, because it's just the way it looks. Everybody reads it as Probed. And like the joke has been, when are you going to make a non-competitive version of Probed? Just cough bed.
I didn't even clock that when you said it.
So There is actually a bed now on the map. there's a little bedroom set, and there's some Easter eggs in there. I'll leave it to them to find it, but it's in a pretty obvious location once you realize it's there.
I'm totally going looking.
There's a you do have to click to find it. We'll say that.
Okay. Have you put in any Easter eggs in one of your maps that you don't think anyone's got, or like references that you don't think anyone's clocked? What are you thinking of?
The only one that was in there that I ended up having to cut, like I don't know if you mean if they didn't find it or if they didn't understand.
Yeah, I don't know, like just put in a reference or whatever, and like people are like, what's that? I don't,
Not really. I do, like, there's one, I don't know if it's actually going to stay in the Valve version because it's a custom material that they're going to have to basically pay for, and it might be a licensed thing. But I have, my particle guy, Metroid Fission, Fission Metroid, Jesus. He has a Metroid logo that he made, and I put it in that Easter egg room that I just mentioned as kind of a reference to him.
Oh god!
So a lot of people might see that and have no idea what it means, but it's just his logo that I thought would be cool to throw in there.
Valve would have to go to Nintendo. That would be a beautiful thing. I like the idea that you may have made Valve talk to Nintendo.
I should just go delete that now because
No. What if Valve talked to Nintendo about this, and then like they get on and like, man, Valve and Nintendo doing a thing together? That would be glorious.
And I do have a habit of putting my Toki avatar on the map too, like Wub 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 on the front of the Wub ship. There's a my Toki avatar along with the same Metroid logo because he did all the particles on that for me.
Yeah. Do you tend to find you like get a load of people are good and you work with well and you just kind of hang on to them? And
yeah, it's I've more recently been developing this like network of people to connect to. It's like I need a custom model made up, so I'll go talk to Freya who made Suijin. She made all the custom models on Glassworks, so if she's free, I have her available to me to make some custom models if it's a a legit project. I also have I've got like backup for all those positions too. It's like Jukebox, he made the models on Wub Wub Wub, and if he was perhaps interested, I can get him in on another project. And I have particle guys and sound guys and voice actors, and it's more of a thing that I realized. Like I sat back and was like, wow, I could make a fucking game at this rate with all these people that I know.
Damn, when did I network so hard?
What game would you make?
Oh god! So I've had an idea for a side scroller, sort of like what's that game where you just you run into hazards and issues and you have to just basically grind your way through the map. It was I Want to Be the Guy. I think that might have been what it's called.
I should have played it.
Me either.
But it was basically a train saw laser based map or based game. See, I called it map. And it would be you in a side scroller, and it was like just trying to navigate the map with like little enemies that were kind of themed. And the goal, you probably wouldn't have a weapon or anything like that, but the goal would just be to survive to the end point, and then it'd be like the next level. And it just sounded like fun because not like I've already got this like thing, this this product that people find funny, so I thought it'd be fun to do that on the side and get to use my voice actors and all my friends and have them do this project with me.
I think that sounds wonderful.
I mean, there's been some side-scrolling stuff done with TF2, like on multiple occasions. Do you ever think of like using the engine to do something weird like that?
Yeah, if it was available to me, and it was not that complicated too. I'm not a programmer by any means, so that would that knocks a lot of game stuff out of the window.
You just need to network with a programmer, clearly.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we should be wrapping up now. Is there any like anyone you want to name check? Do you want to talk about anything like otters or whatever?
Yes, otters are very adorable. I like how they hold their hands together when they're
sea otters
floating down the river. Yeah.
Do you not ever think that they look like they're planning something?
Really? Oh, they do the little hand thing.
Yeah, the little hand thing. Like
what? Like
that's
evil genius
nice.
hand rubbing.
That's a cool thing that I enjoy about them, that they're plotting things.
Okay.
But no, actually, I would like to mention, if anybody's interested in getting into TF2 mapping, I have a YouTube channel under the same name as everywhere else I go by, as UEAKCrash. You can learn how to map there. You can see all the behind the scenes of my maps that I do create. I've got my series on Probe. I've got a whole bunch of videos on Probe if you want to see the back story of how it was created. Train saw laser videos, all my CP Glassworks. I've got a change log that's been spanning like over a year now of every updated version. I go through and like show how the map was created. So if you're interested in maps, go check out my channel. I do a lot of stuff on it, and I'm hoping to feature other custom maps here in the future too.
Cool.
That'd be pretty cool. Thank you ever so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
That's been wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for having me. I like to geek out and just spew words at you about the thing that I'm excited about.
Best way.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Control point enabled. Get going.